Good evening, everyone. I welcome everyone in the day 4 of our water lecture series in HogwartsX platform. I'm very much happy that you have the patience to stay to still till the end, and right now we're already covering the 4th day. And today, as I have already told, is my favorite topic. It's about the infrastructure of water in cities, right? And yes, so the name is also the hidden life of water in our cities. This is my favorite topic because this is one of the greatest opportunities to use engineering in water sector. Yes, so if some of you listeners on YouTube or my live listeners, my students right now, you're interested in becoming an engineer or a scientist, I think the water treatment is one of the greatest sectors to go for your research, for your projects, so stick till the end. Although it's my favorite topic, it is also the shortest one. There are like very few slides, so hopefully we will cover very quickly and you will have more time to do your homework. So basically, in cities, why do we need the water in cities, right? Basically, the main purpose for water in cities is for drinking. People need to drink the water. And usually the big cities are also constructed near a source of water. It's usually a river. It's usually a river, and historically around big rivers or groundwaters there were always collections of people, and people grew larger into villages, villages grew larger into towns, towns into cities, cities into republics, right? And everything always happens around the water. Why? Because water is so crucial for human health, for human survival. Yes. And today we're going to talk about how big cities are turning that river water into a drinkable, healthy water that we then distribute to our citizens. So right now in my slide, I have a schematics of basic water treatment plant. So water treatment plant is very important facility, and its main purpose is to treat the water, to make it drinkable for people. The process of water treatment plant starts from the source of raw water. It's basically river water, as I said, can be ocean water, can be groundwater, anything that has the water. And usually when we build these water treatment plants, we want this water to already have a good quality. Yes, to already have a good quality. You will not go and take mud water to make a drinkable water out of it. No, you want a river with already good water, to take it, to clean it a bit, to make it better, and then to distribute it to people. So everything starts from a river. Then when we take the river water, it can look clean, beautiful, but it still has some particles. It can be mud, it can be some, I don't know, not dissolved salts, and it can be some debris, small parts of plants, small parts of fish. Yes, somewhere upstream people might have bathed in that river water. So it has some particles, and in scientific terms we call those particles turbidity. For you to know better, to be able to imagine what turbidity is, so let me show you some images. Turbidity in water. We see clean water. Yes. So for example, this picture, this is low turbidity. You see it's clean, it's pristine, but then you have high turbidity. Basically, these are the small particles that you cannot even touch with your hands, but they make the water aesthetically not good. At times it's only aesthetically, at times it's really some pollution that should be taken. So you wouldn't drink even this water, right? And oh my God, you would never even look at this water. Yes, so basically, uh, river water is never like this, right? River water is at times like this or like this. So our purpose is to get rid of this water, to get rid of this turbidity. And how do we do it? So basically there are chemicals that are called coagulants, and these chemicals are used in order to get rid of that turbulence. So what is that? So basically these coagulants, they are like chewing gums, you know, they're like chewing gums. You add them to water and then they start to stick to those small particles, and then once that coagulant sticks to the small particle, that small particle becomes a big particle. And the good side of a big particle, the big particle can settle to the ground by the help of gravity. Yes. So you don't have to do a lot of things. You just add the coagulant. Coagulant sticks to the mud particles. The mud particles become heavy enough to settle to the ground, and then you just scrape off it. You just scrape it off, and that's it. And then the water is already clean enough. For example, let me show you some videos of turbidity in action. Water turbidity cleaned with coagulants. It's actually very cool chemicals. So here is the water. Here is the water that has some turbidity. I hope it is a good, yes, it is a suitable video. So here is the water that has turbidity, and turbidity in this case is not mud particle, it's a dye molecule, right? It's dyed with red dye. So what happens is the person adds coagulants and then they treat it. Oh, that's it. You see? Basically, the particles were small in the beginning, and then you stir it, and then they become clumsy. They absorb those molecules, and then everything settles to the ground. Yeah, here again they add it, and you see? Yeah, so basically these small particles, thanks to coagulants, they become big enough, then they settle to the ground, and in that way you treat the water. Yes. So once you add that coagulant, if you notice, this thing was being stirred, like someone should be always shaking it. So what happens is that once we add those coagulants, they're going to be shaked in this big basin, and then they are going to be sent to this sedimentation basin. So we added the coagulant here, and then we started shaking it, and then when we shake it, the big particles start to coagulate together, and then once they're big enough, we send it to sedimentation basin. And if you look at the sedimentation basin, it has this shape, this cone-like shape, right? It's made on purpose so that everything would be collected here on the bottom. Yes, and then we just scrape it off from there. We scrape it off, and on the top layer we have the clean, good water that is left from any turbidity. And then what happens is that after that what do? We usually send it through the tubes to the filter. And the main purpose of the filter is to remove anything that wasn't removed by coagulants. Basically, there are the pollutants, they have different size, right? And some pollutants could be removed by coagulants, but there are pollutants that are even smaller. And this even smaller pollutant should be removed by filters. And this is removed, and usually these filters vary. For water treatment plants, these are usually some sand filters or activated carbon or something like this. And then once this water goes through the filters, then we can add anything we want. So usually we add disinfectant because, as you know, Even though the water can be free from pollutants, it should also be cleaned from bacteria and viruses. Why? Because if we drink water with bacteria and viruses, we're going to have at best diarrhea, at worst we can die. Yes, so it's very serious, and that's why we have to add disinfectants in order to treat clean water from viruses and bacteria. And usually this is the most popular disinfectant is chloride molecules. Yes, hypochlorite or just chlorine gas, or if we do not use chlorine, it can be ozonation. So ozone is a very strong oxidating molecule, so it can be ozone or it can be UV light. UV light is also very strong. Yes, but anyways, chlorine molecules are preferred because they are cheap. And when ozone and UV, the ozone and UV are effective, meaning they can kill the bacteria only inside of the water treatment plant. Once the water leaves the water treatment plant, if some of the bacteria was not killed or some of the bacteria regenerate again, then we cannot kill it in anyways once it's in the pipes going to your home, right? But if we add some chlorine molecules and if we add a little bit more than necessary, then what happens is that some chlorine that is left, not used, will travel with the water to your home. And if there are some bacteria that regenerate during the transport process, then that chlorine will kill that bacteria as well. So chlorine is good because it guarantees that there will be no bacteria till your home. Yes. And then what happens is that some countries also can add fluorine molecules, so fluoride, in order to make your teeth white, very white, very white. For example, in California, some water treatment plants add fluoride molecules so that when people drink that water, their teeth would be white. But this is really expensive thing. And also, another step not shown in this picture is softening. So what is softening? Do you know when we boil the water in a kettle? After we boil the water, there is this white thing left. It's called scaling, and we just hate scaling. After boiling water, say. We just hate because it's so hard to take it off. Yes, oh my god, nightmare. It's just a nightmare how to clean this thing, right? Just with lemon acid. Lemon acid is very good, or vinegar acid. Just some acid, and that's good. That's enough. In fact, be a chemist, you will know how to clean your dishes in the kitchen. Yes, so basically the scaling happens. Why? Because inside of the water you have salts, calcium, magnesium salts that should be removed, in fact. And if water has too much of these salts, then after you boil the water, of course, you are going to have this scaling, and it's a problem. But scaling is not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is our health. You see, when you put that water inside of that kettle, that salt is left even after water is gone. The same with your body. If you drink water that has too many salts, you drink the water and salts enter your body. After water is gone, the salts stay inside your body. And basically, if you know, then every fluid that enters your body ends up in your kidneys, because the kidneys are the place where you filtrate your, if I'm not mistaken, even blood, then urine is created inside of the kidneys. Basically, every fluid ends up in the kidneys. And since water also ends up in the kidneys, salt also ends up in the kidneys. And if too much of salt is aggregated inside of the kidneys, then what happens is that you have kidney stones. Yes, you have kidney stones. And having kidney stones is a major health issue in Uzbekistan. People die from kidney stones if not cured properly and on time. It's all because water was too hard. Water was not soft. And basically, water is too hard, then it should also be treated in water treatment plant. And usually, water treatment plant is a very serious place. Even me, even if I worked a lot with Usutaminot, with ministry and so on, I myself have never been to water treatment plant because it's a strategically protected place. And if you ever happen to go near water treatment plant, then you will see soldiers with guns. Why? Because if someone suspicious is going to come to water treatment plant, they even have the right to shoot you. Why? Because just imagine the water that is being created in this water treatment plant is going to be distributed to the whole population around the city. If someone just comes and adds a little bit of molecules of tuberculosis, yes, in this finished water storage place, then the whole Tashkent or the whole Samarkand or the whole Karshi or the whole Nukus is going to die. It's just going to die. This is if you have the plans to kill whole city, whole nation, then it's a very good place to start from, because you just add drops of those molecules and you have the ability to kill everyone. It's such a strategically protected place. Yes, it's strategically protected place. And it's very hard to get into water treatment plants, and the job of people working in that water treatment plant is also very important. If you do something a little bit incorrectly and it affects the quality of water, and that quality of water affects human health, then you go to jail. Because you're dealing with human health, and human health, as I have told, is not a toy to play with, right? You gotta be serious about it. Yes, so this is all about water treatment plant. After water treatment plant, so what happens? Imagine you're at home. You open the tap, you use it, the water becomes dirty, and then it's gone. It's gone through that faucet somewhere to the magic world, and you never know where it went, and you never care where it went. You don't have to care where it went, where it did go. So what happens is that once the water from your toilet, from your kitchen sink, or from your bathtub leaves your home, it all goes to wastewater treatment plant. I'm sorry. So wastewater treatment plant, by its name, it's a place that treats waste water, so dirty water. The dirty water after we cleaned it, after we made it dirty. So basically, let's discuss the steps in wastewater treatment plant. Everything starts from here. The water treatment plant, the main pollutants are usually human waste. Yes, so our poop and pee, right? So this is the main waste, and also there are other types of waste, like big chunks of toilet paper, or some I don't know, Pampers, or the bottles, water bottles, or some chunks of clothes, and everything. So at times people are not careful and they throw stuff into the wastewater that shouldn't be there. And however much you educate people, they still keep doing that. And as a result, you have to protect your plant, because your plant has a lot of sophisticated equipment. And imagine you have some filters, and then the Pampers or the toilet paper gets stuck there, then it's gonna cause problems. That's why right in the beginning of your treatment plant, you're going to have bar screens. Bar screens are like simple rishotka, yes, just a bar screen, and then once the big trash goes there, it gets trapped there. This is just a purpose of bar screens, is to remove those big pollutants, basically. And then once your water is free of water bottles, toilet paper, chunk of clothes, and other big pollutants, what happens is that you need to treat your water from heavy pollutants that can sink to the bottom, and can sink to the bottom easily. Usually this is sand, this is gravel. Yeah, in cities, usually water doesn't have that much of sand and gravel, but it can also happen. So if your water has some sand and gravel and earth particles, then it's all removed here in grit removal chamber. Um, yes, so basically what happens is that once the water enters wastewater treatment plant, the water gets slowed down, and when water slowly passes through this second process unit, the sand, the earth particles start to go down to the earth, to the ground, and you then just scrape that grit, that sand particles, and that's it. Some countries even scrape the sand particles and sell it. Yes, yes, for someone waste, but for someone the product, right? So, and then what happens is that imagine in the beginning your water had human poo, human pee, and then it had some water bottles, it had some sand particles, right? In the first place, we remove the water from those water bottles, pumpers, toilet papers. Here, we're removing the water from sand and from earth particles. And then what happens is that now we should remove the water from human poo. And usually the poo is, hopefully it's big enough and can settle to the ground by itself. And that's why we have these primary clarifiers. The primary clarifiers, their geometry is something like this too. So they are cone shaped in the downside. So what happens is that you have several of those primary clarifiers. The water gets very slow when it comes to those clarifiers, and that human poo and other heavy organic waste just start to settle to the ground. Yes, and then once they settle to the ground, you're going to pump that human poo, and that's it. You clean the water from human poo. Yes. So even here you can see that the poo is the brownish waste and it goes to here. Yeah. But of course there is also still pee, right? The water is not still cleaned because at times even some poo is liquid, right? If someone had a bad dinner, breakfast, or lunch, the poo can be liquidish too. So, and also the urine as well. And this all goes into aeration, to the biological treatment plant, to the biological treatment unit process. So what is now? So the water now, imagine, we cleaned it from water bottles, we cleaned it from sand, and we cleaned it from heavy human poo. And now there is urine and there is still liquidish human poo, right? So what happens is that in biological treatment unit, you have very good bacteria, and those good bacteria are always hungry. They want to eat, and oh god, they want to eat your waste. Your waste is the best food for them. So what happens is, in this biological unit, you have a lot of good bacteria, and you bring the waste to them, and the bacteria starts eating that waste. Your poo, your urine, your everything. The bacteria eats it, and yeah, and then the water gets clean. That's it. So, and bacteria, as every living organism, it needs oxygen. Yes. So that's why for that bacteria to have a lot of oxygen, to eat a lot, to be in a good shape, you always aerate. Oh, sorry. You always aerate this place. You always provide energy, you always provide oxygen. So that's why the aeration place is always, you will have a lot of bubbles on top of it. Yes, so you have good bacteria eats that poo, that pee, and now your water is also clean from any bacteria, but your water still has from any waste, but your bacteria still have, but your water still has bacteria, good bacteria. And good bacteria is not a waste. You want to take that good bacteria and put it back into your water. So what happens is that after your water leaves this aeration tank, it again comes to this time already second clarifiers, and here you're already taking bacteria from water and you're returning it back. You're returning it back to aeration plant. Yes, because bacteria should continue doing its job. And then here you see the water, the color is already bluish, blue enough, beautiful. And then from here the water goes to chlorination, because this wastewater has a lot of bad bacteria, because this is human waste, right? And human waste has a lot of toxic microbes, bacteria, and also you should remember that inside of the cities, the wastewater of hospitals as well is connected to wastewater treatment plants, right? And the wastewater of hospitals has a lot of bacteria and microbes, all kinds of bacteria and microbes, and that's why you should kill all of them. And in this chlorination unit, you kill them, and once you kill them, you can put it back into the natural reservoir, into the natural water source. So for example, let me show you. Google Earth Pro. I love Google Earth Pro. Hopefully you love it too by now. It's such a cool tool, such a cool tool. I'm so happy I learned to use it, really. So where is the wastewater treatment plant? So do you know where is the airport of Tashkent? So here is the airport, and wastewater treatment plant is just near that airport. So here is the wastewater treatment plant. You see, here are our secondary and primary clarifiers. Here are they. These are aerobical treatment plants, like aeration tanks. Here are they. Here you have your screens. Here is the grit removal place. So you have everything here, everything. And what I want to show you is that near this place you have Salar here. This is Salar River. If you can notice, if you look close enough, then you can see that here is Salar River, is Salar Canal. Yes, but it's natural canal. So, and once the wastewater, once we treat the wastewater and it's good enough for fish to live in, then we discharge the treated wastewater here. We discharge it to Salar. And that's why Salar never gets, here for example, here Salar gets bigger. Yes, that's why Salar never stops flowing during even winter season. And for example, if you go, if you ever travel in Sergili, part of Tashkent, so here is this, somewhere here is the Sergili part of Tashkent. If you travel here, then you can always see that Salar always has water, and this water is even warm during winter. Why? Because wastewater comes from houses of people, and people use hot water, and that's why the water, while it's being treated, it's always warm, and even to Salar it goes as warm, and that's why the river Salar is always warm. So yes, now we understood what happens with water, what happens with poo, what happens with it. So do you remember when we started collecting it? In the primary clarifier, right? We started collecting it, we send it to this process unit, and this is anaerobic digestion. So what happens in anaerobic digestion is that there are special type of bacteria that eat their food without oxygen, and the end product of this process is methane. So if your bacteria has both food and oxygen, the end product is CO2. But if your bacteria has only food and no oxygen, the end product is methane. And the methane, good part of methane is that it's energy. It's energy. So you can take your poo from here, send it to anaerobic digestion plant, and inside of the anaerobic digesters, this poo will be turned into methane, and this methane later can be burned and turned into electricity. And your wastewater treatment plant can, one, provide electricity for the whole plant, second, even sell that electricity. And then your wastewater treatment plant will start earning money, not spending it, but earning. That's just super. That's just super. And then, even if you take the methane out of this this sludge, we don't call it human poo, of course. People don't call it human poo. People call it sludge. Sludge. Yes. So the water, wastewater, it's sewage, and the human poo is sludge. So the sludge is being collected, and then every wastewater treatment plant deals with that sludge in a certain way. For example, in Tashkent, what we do with the sludge? So in Tashkent, we do not treat sludge anaerobically. In the first place, we don't get electricity out of the sludge. We don't get anything. We treat it aerobically. So we give oxygen to bacteria, the oxygen, and then they create just CO2. And then the final product, we store it here. Do you see these things, right? These rectangular pools. These pools are for treated human waste. This is for sludge for human poo. Yes, and until now, this poo has been collected in this way. So basically, when this plant was just under construction, what engineers thought is that they can use this human waste as a fertilizer, or in order to create some other materials. Yes, but basically many countries incinerate it. So what does it mean? Incinerate, they burn it to ashes. Why? Because they made some research and found that waste in big cities cannot be used as fertilizers, because industry waste is also being mixed with human waste, and industry waste has some toxic chemicals that can be removed by wastewater treatment plants. And that's why we cannot use it as fertilizers. We cannot use it as anything, and that's why we should also incinerate it, meaning burn it to ashes. Yeah, but for now we're just collecting it, because burning something to ashes also takes a lot of money. Yeah, so basically this. And yes, so this is our wastewater treatment plant shown to you, and voila, this is also Salar wastewater treatment plant for you. Yes, very great place. Visit. When you come to Tashkent, everyone goes to museums, everyone goes to Magic Park, everyone goes to Tashkent city. You go to wastewater treatment plant to see how the water is being treated here. Yes. So, and so why does everything that we just learned matters, right? Why does it matter? So you know that your parents pay water bills, right? So every month your parents have to pay the water bills, the certain amount of water bills. And you might ask a question. In fact, water, like the water, is a primal human need, is a primal human right to have access to water. Yes, and the water is nature's gift. Water is not owned by someone. Water doesn't have its owner. Water is a gift of nature to human and to other creatures as well. So someone simply cannot claim that he owns the water and sell the water to you. No one can do that. And even even Uzbekistan cannot sell the water to you, because you, as a human, it's your birthright to have access to water. So then, why do you pay? For what do you pay that water? For what do you pay then? Well, actually, the money that you pay is not for water. but it's for service, meaning the money that you pay is being spent in order to treat that water so that you could drink it first. It's to bring that water from river to your home second, and then to once you use that water make it dirty, you do not have the right to discharge it to the nature. What nature gave you was already clean. You do not have the right to give it something dirty, right? You need your water to be treated. So you also pay for that water to be treated. This is the third one. And then what you also pay is that for this whole structure of distribution, pre-treatment and post-treatment to be run well, you also pay for the maintenance. Yes, and you also pay for many other things. So why does it matter that we learn it? It is in order to understand where does the money of your parents, and in the future where does your money once you start paying for water bills yourself, where does that money go? So basically here is the pie chart that shows where does the money for water bills go. So first of all, it's wages. It's all those people working in water treatment, in wastewater treatment. They have their salary, and 30% goes into paying the salary of those workers. The 19% of your money goes in order to pay for electricity to treat your water. Treatment of water is very, very electricity intensive. Yes. So already 1/5 of your money goes to pay for those bills. Then there are other costs, and I'm not sure what are they. Then there is depreciation, meaning so it's something in economics. If some of you will learn economics, you will know that money always loses its value, and that's why they charge you always 15% extra, knowing that your money will lose its value. Then Usutaminot in Uzbekistan also has some international loans. For example, some of the regions do not have water treatment plants or wastewater treatment plants, but they should have it. It's hygiene. But first, let's say Uzbekistan doesn't have money to build those water treatment plants. What Usutaminot does then is that it takes loan from international organizations to build that water treatment plant, and then it uses 9% of your money in order to repay that water bills. And then there are some routine capital repairs. If something breaks, 5% of your money goes for that. And then there are also taxes, social payment. For example, they should pay for pensions of their workers, for taxes, because they're operating inside of Uzbekistan. So that money goes for that. Yes, so basically, this is where the money that your parents pay, that you pay, goes. Yeah. So with that being said, my favorite and hopefully your favorite part is homework. And the homework will be to find information about your local water treatment plant and or wastewater treatment plant and shoot a video of yourself describing it. Submission format is video. Again, I love videos. So basically you should find information about local water treatment plant or wastewater treatment plant near your hometown and make a video about it and upload it on the Google form. Yes, so that will be it. So that's it for this lecture. And today we learned about this hidden life of water inside our cities. How do we clean it? Why and how can the water become drinkable by a human? And then where it goes after it leaves your house. So thank you for your patience. Thank you that you stuck till the end. And with that being said, if you have any other questions left, then yes, if you have any other questions left, we can close chat. So even filtered water has salt. It depends on the filter. So there are filters. Basically, all pollutants. Salt is also a pollutant. all pollutants have their size, right? Have their size. And filters can be specific for that size. For example, some filters can treat water up to 10 up to pollutants that are, say, 10 centimeters or 1 centimeter in their length, and pollutants that are smaller than 1 centimeter are going to get through that filter. Yes, they're going to get through that filter. And if you want your filter to be super powerful, then you want the pores of your filter to be very, very tiny. The tinier the pores of your filter, the more pollutants it can reject from your water. Yes. So basically, there are filters that can, and they're called membranes, in fact, that can treat the water from everything, for example, in Israel or in US, California states, they use reverse osmosis membranes. These are also so-called filters, and their pores are so small that they can reject everything except the water itself. So what happens is that you take the ocean water is very dirty. It's very dirty. It has everything inside. You put it through that filter and it treats everything, just everything. And then at the end you have pure water. Yes. But the filters that we usually have in water treatment plants, they're not reverse osmosis filters, because having reverse osmosis filters is very expensive. Because the tinier the pores of your filter, the harder it is to push the water through that filter. And that's why you should use a lot of electricity in order to do that, and a lot of money as well. That's why not all water treatment plants can afford reverse osmosis, and not all of them need it. Yes, and that's why, yeah, filters do not remove salt. No, salt is too small to be removed by usual filters. And in order to remove salt, you should add chemicals if you don't want to use reverse osmosis. And usually adding chemicals is cheaper than using reverse osmosis. So the next question, filtered human wastewater is only for water bodies like rivers, reservoirs, right? Filtered human waste. You mean, do you mean that once we treat the wastewater, we pour it only to rivers? I meant flow to water bodies. So basically, yes. Once we treat the wastewater, then usually we discharge it to some river, because this is too much of water. We do not need it, and we just discharge it to the river. And depending on the purpose of that river, you should also clean your water to the certain level. For example, if fish live in that river, then you should treat your water in a very good way for those fish to not die from the pollution from the waste of human. Yes, you should treat your wastewater very well. But if, for example, that river water, no fish live in that river water, and that river water is used for irrigation, that water is used in order to for crops or something like that, then you can simply, you don't have to clean your water that much. Some of the things you don't even clean, some of the human waste, organic things, you don't clean. You clean only microbes and bacteria, and the rest is just fertilizer, because human waste is very good fertilizer depending on the purpose of that river. But usually, yes, usually we put it into water bodies, into rivers, once we clean it. And just for you guys to know, we never drink the treated wastewater. The treated wastewater will not be drank by people. No, it's too expensive to treat wastewater to the standards for it to be drinkable for people. We never do that, but astronauts do, and people in Singapore as well do, because they do not have other choice. They don't have that much water, so they have to treat even wastewater to make it drinkable for people to drink. Yes, but fortunately Uzbekistan has enough water that we don't have to drink our own treated pee. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I have a question too.
Uh-huh.
Now we saw the wastewater treatment plant in Tashkent City. Do we actually have this kind of treatment plant, water treatment plant in cities located in the regions too? I mean, not in Tashkent City, but regions.
I don't know. The only thing I know is that 20.5% of Uzbekistan's population has access to wastewater treatment plants, meaning that it's very highly likely that your city might not have wastewater treatment plant. The easy way to check is to ask your neighbors, ask your parents, where does the wastewater go? Yes, usually if it goes through pipes somewhere, usually you have wastewater treatment plant. But if it's collected in your house, for example, my parents come from Kashkadarya, and in Kashkadarya there is a city Kamashi, and they come from Kamashi, and in Kamashi there is no wastewater treatment plant. So people go for toilet to out. uh, there is basically, it's a hole dug in the ground, they do their thing, right, and the waste is left in that hole. Yes, this is basically it. No wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, but I'm sure that it's very highly likely that somewhere should be water treatment plant, the plant that distributes water to your house. um, yeah, but wastewater treatment plant, you might not have it. If you don't have it, it's okay, because because right, it's okay. If you want to find more information about from where you can take, then Usultaminot has its own uh, Usultaminot has its channel, and maybe you can type your city or you can type your region and find some information about this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just paste it to you guys.
Okay, thank you. I also think that we don't really have wastewater treatment plants in the regions because I'm hearing about this in Tashkent. It's also my first time.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, only 20% of us have access to it, and there are plans like in coming 10 years, by 2035, they want to build more wastewater treatment plants across our republic, so that yes, already 31.5% or 35% of population has access to wastewater treatment plant, something like this. So they want to increase it. Because it's a very horrible case that only 20% of us have access to wastewater treatment plant. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you for the lesson.
Yes, yes, you're welcome. Any other questions? Great. Then thank you everyone. Take care. Enjoy doing your homework, and bye.